We're back with Dr. Sue Johnston, who says science has recently cracked the code on love. She is the author of Love Sense, and that title means you actually can make scientific sense of love. And since we sometimes need all the help we can get, thank you. Dr. Johnston, what does science tell us about building strong relationships?
Basically, what science tells us from all the bonding research on mother and child bonds and now on adult bonds in the last 15 years, that strong bonds are all about emotional accessibility and responsiveness. They're about a positive answer to the question, are you there for me? Can I count on you? If I call, will you come? Will you put me first? Will you respond to me? So it's not about whether you share the chores. It's not about whether you ever fight or whether you don't fight. But it is about whether you can repair fights. Because if you look at master couples, they fight, they get disconnected just like everyone else. The difference is they can turn and reach for each other and talk about their emotions and their needs and their fears in a way that pulls the other person close. We call it a hold me tight conversation.
And you cannot throw out the rules and think just because you're in a permanent relationship, you don't have to be nice. Nice is still incredibly important.
Oh, if you want a permanent relationship, you better learn how to tune into your partner and help your partner with their vulnerable feelings, because you're amazingly powerful with that partner. And there are times when what we understand about, for example, things like rejection by someone you love, what we now understand is that this is coded in your mammalian brain in exactly the same way as physical pain. Wow. So when people say, this hurts, it's not a metaphor. It's because rejection by someone you love for a mammal is a danger cue, just like stepping on a nail is a danger cue. And your brain says, this is dangerous and awful and painful, do something about it.
And you've put this science, the trackable science of this in Love Sense, but you've also helped us understand there's some remarkable benefits to good marriage in terms of health and healthcare costs. Like, actually, the government could make a case, like cigarette warning labels. You could have good policy warnings for why you need an attached permanent marriage. Cancer survivors live longer with supportive spouses, have better survival rates, and a good marriage is a protective factor equivalent to not using tobacco or not having high blood pressure. That's a study was reported in Maclean's magazine. You've used the fMRI machines to study the brain when it is in love. What are you finding?
When people are distressed, having their husband hold their hand when they're lying in an fMRI machine and they're being told that when they see an X, they're going to be shocked on their ankles. If you don't have a real strong connection with that husband, it makes no difference. Your brain goes crazy if your hand is held by a stranger, or if you're alone in the machine, or if your husband holds your hand. What we find after these people have learned how to have these bonding conversations and really have what we call hold me tight conversations, what we find is they lie alone in the machine. Their brain still goes berserk when they're alone or when they're holding a stranger's hand, but when their husband holds their hand, when they have a secure bond, they do something totally different with that threat. It's like their brain says, I have the most ultimate safety cue in the world, my partner's hand, and their brain doesn't even respond to the threat of shock. It's literally calm. And if you ask them if the shock hurts, they say it's uncomfortable. Wow. This is the power of a secure bond. This is wired into the mammalian brain.
What is a bonding conversation?
A bonding conversation is when people can tune in to their own attachment vulnerabilities and their own needs for comfort and connection and support, and we all have these needs, and they feel safe enough and clear enough that they can turn and reach for their partner and share these needs in a way that pulls their partner towards them. For example, I might be used to, in my family, I might be used to the idea that you're not going to respond to me unless I push you and poke you and make you respond to me. So I'll say, how come you're not responding to me and smiling more? If you were a good host, you'd respond and smile more. And I'm used to this. Only unfortunately, it pushes you away. So in our therapy, I would learn to be able to turn to you and say, you know what? It would feel so good if you would smile at me. I'd feel safer on this show. And then I'd be able to talk to you more. So would you mind, I'd feel so reassured if you would smile at me. And that feels so good when you smile at me. Wow. Now that's different. That's an invitation to connection, where the first one is
And even if you've been together 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, sometimes you still need to have those reorientating, bonding conversations.
Do, because when you dance with somebody, you're going to miss each other's cues, you're going to step on each other's feet. And a good relationship for a married couple is when they know how to come back together. You fall in love again and again and again. You miss each other and then you fall in love again. You miss each other and then you fall in love again.
Okay. Sheldon is just dying to get a question in here with his audience. Okay, Sheldon.
Thanks so much. Our first question, yes.
But the question I have to you is, have you looked at alternative family relationships such as polyamory or polygamy?
Yes, I think it's a very hard thing to pull off. I'm sure that there are people who manage that, okay, and that's great. I do think there is a natural pull in our species towards monogamy, which doesn't mean that we're not sometimes sexually attracted to other people. You know, that's not what monogamy means. It just means that when bonding and sex come together, which is when I believe they're best, the research says the people who say they're happiest in relationships and have the best sex and the most sex and enjoy it the most and communicate it best are people in long-term loving relationships. So I don't think there's a conflict between good erotic sex and being in a long-term bond. I think somehow we've decided that. I don't believe that at all. And what I see is the safer people get in bonds, the better, the safer they feel, the more fun they can have in sex. You know, passion is about longing connected with erotic play. But if people are trying to pull off polyamory, we'll try to help them. Most of the time what I see is that it's too hard for people, that they end up saying, I don't think I can do this. And one person says, I need the safety of knowing that I come first with you and that you will turn and care for me, and I need that safety. And so they end up having to choose between having this secure bond and having what they believe that polyamory will give them.
Okay, lots to think about there.
Yes.
Lots to think about there.
Lots to think about.
All right, Sheldon, over to you.
All right, and we love this topic so much. We are bumping up the number of Sue Johnston's books. We're giving it away, and we want you to call the number. It's 1-866-315-2080 for your chance to win a copy of this great book, It's Love Sense. And if you have an opinion on how we've covered these questions on love, let us know. It's all about communication. Contact us by one of the means you see on the screen on the subject of love. We'd love to hear from you. Great book.
So if science tells us we need this love and attachment, how can faith help make us fit for fidelity? Sharon Ramsey helps us navigate that next.